Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to go through step by step how to make kombucha. It's my first time, so please be patient. Over the last few months, my family and I have come to enjoy drinking kombucha on a regular basis. It can be a little expensive, however, feeding a family of 4, so that's why I've decided to make my own. I've outlined the wonderful and delicious benefits of drinking kombucha on a regular basis in the blog, as well as all the ingredients and equipment that you're going to need, just in case you need that list close by. But I will go through it step by step with you today. So let's get started. Alright, so let's go through the ingredients and equipment that you're going to need to start off your kombucha. I have a large stock pot of 3.5 quarts of filtered water. I've got a wooden spoon put over top of the stock pot just so I can hang my tea bags on that. I have my 8 bags of green tea, unflavored tea bags tied together so that I can hang them over top. Black tea and oolong are also great choices when you're first starting out making kombucha. Again, just don't use anything that has any flavor in it. You're going to add the flavor to your kombucha at the end. I also have my starter tea, which I've chosen to buy an original, raw, unpasteurized, unflavored kombucha. You need 2 cups of that, as opposed to trying to make my own. The same thing with the SCOBY, my Sprout Master Kombucha Culture in the back there. I've bought that as well instead of trying to make my own. Most of these bottles actually will come with a SCOBY inside, a baby in there that you could make your own SCOBY off of. You're also going to need sugar to feed your yeast or to feed your SCOBY, which I'm choosing to use organic coconut palm sugar. You're going to need 1 cup of that. So again, you're going to need 1 cup of the sugar, 8 tea bags, 2 cups of your starter tea, 1 SCOBY per fermentation jar, and your 3.5 quarts of filtered water. So now that my water is boiling, I'm going to turn off the stove, remove it from the heat, and we're going to add in our 1 cup of sugar. Stir it through. Let it have a chance to dissolve. And then I'm going to take my tied tea bags and place them over top of the spoon. And let them steep now. So what you're going to do is let this steep until it's cooled. So it's going to take a few hours for it to cool right down, or you can also put it into an ice bath if you want it to go a little bit faster. But I'm going to go and do some stuff for the rest of the day, and I come back and I will finish this off later. Okay, so my tea is now cooled. I put it in a little bit of a cold bath to make sure it cooled off. I'm now going to take out my steep tea bags, and again, you're going to find different ways to do this all over the internet, different instructions. You're just going to have to find the best way that works for you. So I've steeped the tea. I've taken the tea bags out. Some people say you only need to steep it for 5 to 10 minutes. Mine has been steeping for a couple of hours now while the tea cools. And then what you're going to do is take your starter tea. So you can either have 2 cups of it. Again, other videos or other instructions that you might find will say that you only need a couple of teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. The SCOBY that I bought actually has some of the acidic fluid in there, so that will also help. Basically, the reason you need your starter tea or this fluid is to give it an acidic level into your kombucha, and this will help with the fermentation so that no unnecessary bacteria are growing in the first few days of your fermentation process. So let's cut this open. So I went out and bought this glass jar with a nice flip top, which we won't be using for the fermentation process. We'll actually just be using a cloth. And I've got my SCOBY here with the fluid. So I'm just going to gently put it into the bottom of the jar. I'm going to take my tea, and you can see there's actually a little bit of a baby at the top of this jar as well. So I'm just going to add a little bit more into my cool tea here that's in the pot in the sink. And because I had some fluid in my starter with my SCOBY, I'm only going to add half of the bottle. I don't think I need to add it all. But if you only had one or the other, you might want to add a little bit more. And then I'm going to carefully take my tea and pour it into my jar. Nope, a little bit of a mess there. And if I've done it right, my calculations make it perfect. Actually, let's just put that. And then what you're going to do is take a cloth, a linen cloth, preferably a white linen cloth that it's a little bit porous. It'll allow the air to get into it, but we don't want any fruit flies or anything developing while it's sitting. So you may have to just keep checking it. If it's too porous of a material, you may have to change it. So a tea towel, a cloth, you're going to place it over top of the jar, and you're going to place an elastic band around it, making sure that the cloth isn't going to fall inside of the jar and actually get wet, because that will attract the fruit flies. So now we're going to store it in a dark place that's about 70 degrees in temperature, making sure that it's quiet, it's away from any vibration, and it's just going to sit there and do its thing, nice and quiet. We'll keep checking on it from time to time, but not being too disturbed. So I'll check back with you in a few days and we'll see how it's doing. Alright, so today is day 5, and I've been tasting the kombucha for the last couple of days, and today it feels like it's right. So we're going to take out the SCOBY and bottle our kombucha. So you take off your cloth after you've tasted it and you know that it's about the flavor, the vinegariness that you want it to be. You're going to fish out your SCOBY. Now let's see if I can find it in here. There we go. We've got a nice clean plate off to the side here. And you want to do this with nice clean hands and place your SCOBY off to the side. I do have my water boiling in the background to start my next batch. So I'll just take this and put it over here for my next batch. So again, same thing as before. I've got my 4 gallons or my 4 liters or 1 gallon of water boiling with my tea bags and my sugar. I've got another jar ready to go. And so we're going to bottle up this batch. So I've got my funnel and my bottles here. Now you can use a filter if you want, if you just want to make sure that all the sediment doesn't come out, but you're just going to very carefully now pour the kombucha into each bottle. You want to make sure you leave a little bit of room at the top of each bottle. Alright, so I've got my 5 bottles filled up and I've got my last bottle here. But what I want to do is make sure I take a little bit of this and put it into my new kombucha batch, because this is going to be my starter tea now for my next batch. So I just want to make sure I'm going to put a bunch into the jar to start it off. Again, you're going to want to use about 2 cups, and then I'll just pour the rest of this into this last bottle, whatever is left over. Ooh, that one got a little bit full there. So I'm just going to pour a little bit out, because you got to leave a little bit of room now for the bubbling to start happening. So now what you want to do is leave these bottles in the same place that you had your original fermented bottle. You want to leave them there for another 2 to 3 days, depending on how bubbly you want them. The more bubbly you want them, the longer you're going to let them sit. Once you're at that level that you're happy with, you're going to now put them in the refrigerator and drink them within a month. If you want them still, you can put them in the refrigerator and drink them just like that. But most people want that little bit of carbonation, that extra fermentation. If you're unsure of how long you should have your bottles out for, try using a plastic bottle just so that you can tell when you put it in, the plastic bottle is going to have a little bit of a give, and then when it's really bubbly, it's going to be hard and solid, so then you'll know that it's nice and bubbly and ready to go. So then you can just put it in your fridge and start drinking. I made these batches nice and plain because I didn't want to add any flavor for my first batch, but what you can do at this point, if you had some juice or some flavors that you wanted to add into your kombucha, you would have done it before you jarred them. Ferment them again for that extra couple of days, then put them in the fridge and enjoy. Now I'm going to take my starter tea and add it to my next batch of kombucha. I hope that you've enjoyed watching and you've learned now and feel confident in making your own kombucha at home. Have a beautiful and balanced day. Namaste.